Good evening, this is Into Vietnam News, broadcast on a daily basis on VITV channel, following some major stories. Foreign investors expect the Vietnamese government to raise foreign limits. Made in Vietnam goods gain more favor among local consumers. And Vietnam enjoys $196 million of trade surplus in the first half of November. Let's begin with updated news from the State Bank of Vietnam.
The State Bank of Vietnam is considering a plan to buy gold from local sources after selling out 1.7 million taels to the market. Head of the Central Bank's Forex Management Department announced the plans to the participants at a recent workshops in the capital city, adding that it will increase forex reserves in Vietnam. State Bank of Vietnam said that global gold prices were unlikely to increase following the positive global recovery. The domestic economic outlook has also recovered well, so investors were looking at the forms of investment. SBV did not mention when the bank will start to buy back gold, but said they were well prepared for any situation. SBV said that its intervention in the gold market has helped curb inflation and stabilize the economy. According to the State Bank, the bank's gold auction have helped reduce speculative activity in the market. The measure has helped minimize gold imports and increase foreign reserves. Since March 28th this year, SBV has held 70 auctions and sold 1.7 million taels to local credit institutions. The State Bank of Vietnam said it has submitted to the government the policy on supporting coffee trees replanting loans, in which SBV proposes that the government assign SBV to refinance Agribank about 12 trillion dong. With this funding, Agribank will accelerate the disbursements of loan contracts for replanting coffee trees. In addition, SBV also proposes to support loans for replanting coffee trees with lower interest rates than commercial loans. Agribank had just requested its branches to implement preferential lending program for coffee tree planting in the Central Highland area. The maximum loan term is 7 years and the interest rate is lower than 2 to 2.5% per annum over the interest rate at medium and long term.
According to a recent survey by the Bloomberg, global investors are expecting the Vietnamese government to raise the limits of their ownerships in local businesses. The rush of foreign investors into Vietnam's most favored companies has exhausted the government-limited supply of shares, freezing out some as inflation slows and the economy recovers from the weakest growth since 1999. According to the Ho Chi Minh City-based ACB Securities Company, Vietnam Dairy Products Joint Stock Company, the nation's largest milk producer, and DHG Pharmaceutical Companies, the biggest listed drug maker, are among 20 companies with overseas ownerships at the 49% limit. Foreigners have bought a net of $208.5 million of the nation's shares in 2013, the 8th straight years of inflows, as the benchmark VN index rose 22%. Signs that the Vietnamese government is relaxing its grip on the Southeast Asian economy have helped spur the fastest pace of stock purchases by foreigners since 2008. Templeton Emerging Markets Group and Dragon Capital Group Limited says they've been unable to buy as many shares as they want, while PSP Vietnam Asset Management predicts the $45 billion market will extend gains as limits for some companies get raised to 60% as soon as year-end. The Mekong Delta localities are calling for investment in 183 projects with a total investment of about $2.1 billion. The list includes 26 projects valued at more than 6 trillion dong and $93 million registered by Can Tho City and the provinces of Bạc Liêu, Bến Tre, Cà Mau, Đồng Tháp, Hậu Giang, Kiên Giang, Long An, Sóc Trăng, Trà Vinh, and Vĩnh Long. Meanwhile, An Giang, Bạc Liêu, and Trà Vinh provinces with table 4 projects worth more than 1.8 trillion dong. Several commercial banks and enterprises will announce their funding for social welfare activities in the Mekong Delta, with total amount of 6.44 billion dong, or $30.6 million. The Mekong Delta region comprises of 12 provinces with total areas of 40,000 square kilometers and population of 18 million people, having great potential for economic development. According to the Ministry of Industry and Trade, a campaign launched 3 years ago to encourage Vietnamese consumers to purchase locally made products is showing signs of success.
Statistics of the Ministry Department of the Domestic Market show that up to 59% of consumers have prioritized using Vietnamese goods, while 38% have advised their families and friends to choose homemade products, and 36% have stopped buying or have bought fewer imported goods, having replaced them with local goods. According to the ministry's figures, the number of consumers who believe the quality of local products has increased to 77% compared with just 23% before the campaign was launched. After running the campaign for 3 years, locally made products accounted for 80 to 90% of goods on sales in supermarkets such as Big C 90%, Saigon Co-op and Vinatex Mart nearly 95%. The draft projects created by the ministry to develop the domestic market in line with the awareness campaign for locally made products targeted since 90% of Vietnamese consumers using made in Vietnam products while raising the turnover of these goods through major distribution channels nationwide to over 70% by 2015.
The General Customs Department announced Vietnam enjoyed a trade surplus of $196 million in the first half of this month, helping to lower the accumulative deficit to $4 million so far this year. In the first half of this month, Vietnam earned more than $5.74 billion from exports and imported $5.5 billion worth of goods and services. Foreign-funded companies shipped $3.76 billion worth of commodities, accounting for 65.5% of the country's total exports. They imported $3.18 billion, making up 57.8%. In the first half of November, the sector enjoyed a trade surplus of $580 million. Commodities with high export revenues in the period include mobile phones and components with $1.1 billion, garment and textile more than $734 million, computers, electronics and spare parts $577.5 billion, footwear $380 million, and seafood $341 million. As of November the 15th, Vietnam recorded total export revenues of $114.368 billion and import of $114.372 billion, in which the FDI sector exported more than $70.43 billion, accounting for 31.6% of the country's total export revenues, and imported of the sector stood at $65.1 billion, accounting for 56.9%. This means foreign-funded companies have earned $5.33 billion in the period. In related news, according to the statistics of General Department of Customs, Vietnam garment and textile exports to the Republic of Korea fetched $1.37 billion in the past 10 months of 2013, a 49.2% compared to last year's figure. Vietnam is South Korea's second largest trade partner in terms of garment and textiles. The U.S. was the largest importer of garment and textile products from Vietnam, which saw its shipments increasing by 14.6% to $7.17 billion, followed by the EU by 10.5% to $2.2 billion. The annual average growth rate of 15 to 20% of Vietnam-EU two-way trade has proved EU to be a potential playing ground for Vietnamese enterprises. However, it remains a big challenge for small and medium-sized enterprises to penetrate the market.
Statistics show in 1995, two-way trade turnover between Vietnam and the EU reached only $1.5 million, and this figure has jumped to $29 million in 2012 and to $25 million in just the first 9 months of 2013. Vietnam exports staples to this market, including footwear, textiles, coffee, furniture, seafood, mobile phones, and components, have increased significantly in volume and value for the recent years. However, small and medium-sized businesses, which are lack of experience in accessing to the European market, there are many to be concerned.
Điều lo lắng nhất là cái về thủ tục, rồi cái điều kiện để nhập khẩu, rồi cái về cái sản phẩm của mình như thế nào mà đạt được cái thị hiếu và cái chất lượng trong cái thị trường khó tính này.
With high standards and technical barriers in goods import and export, the EU market has demanding requirements in the administrative procedures and product quality. Meanwhile, small and medium-sized enterprises do not have so many opportunities to exchange and transfer technologies. If they do not actively access the information and update production technologies, their products will not meet the market's quality standards.
Sản phẩm Việt Nam thì đáp ứng được về cái chất lượng. Hiện tại mà để đáp ứng được cái thị trường EU thì chắc khoảng chừng 60-70% trở lại, chứ cũng chưa có cao lắm. Mà khi muốn hợp tác với họ thì mình phải nâng chất lượng của mình lên phải từ 90% trở lên.
Although the EU is a tough market, Vietnam's SMEs should update information on the demand, administrative procedures, then upgrade machineries and equipment to improve product quality.
Đây là thị trường có cái nhu cầu tiêu thụ cao nhưng đòi hỏi cái chất lượng hàng hóa cũng rất là cao. Vì vậy mà các doanh nghiệp Việt Nam phải luôn luôn đảm bảo cái chất lượng hàng hóa, rồi là đảm bảo thời hạn giao hàng và phải là nâng cao cái tính cạnh tranh các sản phẩm hàng hóa Việt Nam. Bên cạnh đấy thì EU cũng yêu cầu các sản phẩm xuất khẩu của Việt Nam sang thì bảo đảm là những cái sản phẩm được sản xuất là xanh, sạch và các doanh nghiệp phải thực hiện tốt cái trách nhiệm xã hội của mình.
Thus, exporting products to the EU market, Vietnamese businesses are not only able to access to one of the biggest consumer markets, but also to contribute to confirm the brands and products quality. However, besides the great potential and opportunities, there are also big challenges for small and medium-sized enterprises. Therefore, these enterprises should actively access to information to reorganize production chains in order to meet the standards the market requires. It is the opportunity but also the inevitable trend if businesses want to expand their export markets as well as to confirm the quality of products in the world market.
And last but not least is the update on gold prices, forex and stock markets. Well, that's it. Thank you so much for your attention. And now from everyone on the team, have a lovely day. Bye-bye.